What's your biggest strength?
I'm driven. I have determination.
It was as if he'd been sculpted to be a boxer, as if an artistic Irish druid had decided to sculpt a boxer out of stone. That was Barry McGuigan.
Right uppercut, left hook, and then finally, boom!
He could have been a footballer, he could have been a singer, but he chose boxing, and boxing should be very glad he did.
I knew from the beginning that I could knock guys out cold.
He was a wee man, but when he went into a ring, he was a giant.
I didn't know how big a risk I was taking.
We were in the nadir of the Troubles at that stage.
Leave the fighting to McGuigan.
Barry was on his way to a world title from he was a kid.
Nobody will forget the night McGuigan beat Petrose.
The one and only Barry McGuigan!
Clones was my hometown. Clones is right on the border. So literally I would walk 500 yards out the road and I'm in the north. The border was Comanche country and Clones sort of would have been a deeply Republican area.
IRA territory.
IRA territory.
Dangerous.
Dangerous? Are you joking me? Just along the border there were terrible atrocities and murder on both sides, and it was shocking.
He was one of the most dedicated kids that we ever had coming into the club to train from he was 10 or 11 years of age.
I'm 5'6" in height on a good day, and I have a 5'10" reach, which is unusual. I have big hands. My power is in my back, so I've got terrific power in my back. So I knew from the beginning that I could punch guys and knock guys out cold when I was a kid. This is called the Holy Family Amateur Boxing Club. It's been here for, I think, 40 odd years. This club has produced a number of Olympic medalists, international champions. I had a lot of success here. I mean, this was the start of the ladder for me. For the success to have actually happened, I had to come through these doors.
The club has been formed in 42. They've been in here from 1969. And the kids were coming in from Tigers Bay, from the Shankill and from the New Lodge. So the kids always mixed here, and we have a rule in the club anyway. No political talk, no bad language, no drugs. Simply keep them rules and you're a member of the club. If you don't, you're out. When the Troubles were real bad, this was the only club would have been open then.
This area was deeply, it still is, a nationalist stroke Republican area. Back in the day, it was a fairly intimidating place to walk into because, flags everywhere, murals on the walls, but still, this place was a sanctuary. People that were on the cusp of crime and getting involved in sectarian organisations, this club saved them. I went from juveniles straight through, almost like Amir Khan in many ways. I moved up to bantamweight and I won the Ulster Seniors, the Irish Seniors, the Irish under-19s. So it happened and accelerated very quickly.
Number 133, Finbar Barry McGuigan of Northern Ireland and Tumat Segolik of Papua New Guinea.
That was a tough fight because Barry took a count in that fight.
And he hurt McGuigan, the legs have gone, standing count.
But he showed the battle that he had, the fitness that he had and the strength that he had.
As a young man is boxing a really tremendously courageous battle. And clearly Prince Philip enjoyed that.
And he won the gold.
He won the gold.
McGuigan has got the gold medal. Well, what a moment it is for this youngster who's crying his eyes out.
I was 17 years and 5 months when I won the gold medal. I was the youngest champion. I looked like a choir boy, look at that.
Very proud indeed, Teggy. But then again, this is what we always expected. This is what we wanted. There were a few tears?
Oh, there was a bit, yeah. But I couldn't keep them in.
I was from the south, but my father's family were from the north, so I qualified that way. But actually, I shouldn't have been in the Northern Ireland team. I suppose the people from the south, they were very happy with my success, but I had represented the 6 counties, therefore Britain.
Crossing borders.
Yeah, crossing borders and carving out a road that hadn't been done before.
Barry, you've been awarded the Sunday News Sports Personality Award for 1978.
Leslie, I'm very happy to be asked to present this trophy to the boys.
3 3-minute rounds wasn't enough for me. Just wasn't enough. I was only getting going when the fight was over. I knew that the pro game would suit me. It would suit my style, it would suit my physique.
You were ready to turn pro?
Yeah, I was ready to turn over.
Professional promoters and managers were queuing up to get McGuigan's name on a contract. The man who succeeded was millionaire bookmaker Barney Eastwood.
What was your first impression of Barney Eastwood?
Liked him. I liked him as a personality. I believed in him.
When I spoke to Mr. Eastwood 10 minutes after talking to him, I realised that he was the right man for me.
Barney wasn't only a bookmaker, a millionaire bookmaker. He wasn't only an art connoisseur. He wasn't only a Lloyd's underwriter with business interests, but he was a big boxing fanatic himself.
I went to see him box in Dublin at the end of the 3 rounds. Barry wasn't even blowing, like there wasn't a puff at him. And I said, no, this is a 33-round fighter. This guy doesn't want 3 rounds. From there on, I knew that things were going to start humming.
What did Barney see in Barry?
Potential, huge potential. He saw a world champion in Barry McGuigan in 1980.
There's one thing I remember him saying right from the very beginning was that Barry had charisma. I mean, he saw the package that was there.
There was a thirst and a quest in those days for a new fighter to come through, a new world-class fighter to come through. And Barney had the contacts in boxing to get him up the ladder to where he wanted to go.
They had great fun. They made each other laugh on loads and loads of occasions. There was great advice both ways, respect, everything.
What did you call him?
Mr. Eastwood has guided me very well so far. I'd like to thank Mr. Eastwood himself. Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood.
I called him Mr. Eastwood.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Eastwood.
As a country kid from a country town, I just thought it was respectful to speak to people that way.
The man I thank most is the man I call Mr. Eastwood.
And people took the mickey out of me, took the piss out of this, thank you, Mr. Eastwood. In fact, Dermot Morgan even made a song about it.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Eastwood.
At the time, I was furious about it because he was so good at taking my accent off.
Mr. Eastwood, thank you very, very much, Mr. Eastwood. I'd also like to thank all the fans here.
I called him Mr. Eastwood because I asked him, which would you prefer? And he said, well, I prefer Mr. Eastwood. And I said, fine.
I leave everything in a fight game up to Mr. Eastwood. He tells me what to do and I do it.
What's the one thing in your career you're most proud of?
The impact I had on the Irish nation. Boxing is unique in that it's a violent sport, and yet it's appreciated so much, and it's so intuitive to the Irish psyche, the Irish people.
Back in troubled Belfast, As he passes the army checkpoint to his gym every day, McGuigan has been aware of the responsibility he has in this country divided by religion, politics and the border.
The curbstones painted green, white and gold up the IRA, or red, white and blue up King Billy. People dying and sadness, submerged in sadness. And I just thought, I'm not going to get involved in that.
He didn't care where they came from, who you were or what you were. He was only interested in boxing. There was nothing in it about politics in his blood at all.
You go to one of his boxing matches, he's supported enormously. Sometimes by, of course, the most prejudiced people. I mean, quite often it's those who would go to boxing matches who would be the most Protestant or the most Catholic, the most Unionist or the most Nationalist. And Barry brings them all together, and that must be good for Northern Ireland.
In 1978, my first international was boxing East Germany, and we boxed him in the Shankill Road Social Club, or Working Men's Club.
That would have been a loyalist club, and the members there would have been a lot of them probably paramilitaries, which you would get on both sides of the fence then.
A friend of a friend took all the guns of the guys as they came through the doors. We got a special dispensation that nobody would be touched, and it was right in the middle of all the worst time in Northern Ireland history.
The one thing about Barry was that he himself never preached about unifying anything. Some of his fans did, some of his advisors did, Barry didn't.
Leave the fighting to McGuigan.
Barry literally left the fighting to McGuigan.
And there is an expression, the honest Ulsterman. He was the quintessential honest Ulsterman. He never pulled punches in the ring, and he never pulled punches with the press. Barry McGuigan is and was what you got.
Half of me mates, best mates, are Protestants, half of them are Catholics. I mean, it makes no difference to me.
Why did both sides buy into that?
I think they liked me as a person. I think they trusted me. You have to trust somebody. The truth is, they believed that what I was doing, they believed me.
His wife's a Protestant, you know, so Catholics don't mind him being married to a Protestant, because really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter here, you know.
Belfast boxing fans were discerning boxing fans.
I put him down as a manager. Rocky Marciano didn't take punishment, but give it.
What appealed to me most was his body punching. That was fantastic. He lifted the fella right off the ground, you know.
He could box, but he could fight and he could hit. So there was a combination that made me think he'd be a world champion.
Barry had this incredible, innocent personality, wholehearted, brave. He was a wee man. God, he was a wee man when he started that. But when he went into a ring, he was a giant. And that's what sport does. It makes giants out of wee men.
I didn't think that it was going to do him any harm, It
only takes one man with one gun, with one bullet.
Barry McGuigan, champion of the world.
A dream come true.
In 1982, the Grosvenor House Hotel in Park Lane.
We've been in touch all through the night and I haven't slept.
I boxed a guy called Alimi Mustafa, or Young Ali was his boxing name. He was the West African champion. I hit him with a lot of punches, but he just seemed to have tremendous recovery powers.
I didn't think that it was going to do him any harm,
And in the 6th round, I hit him with a long right hand. I ran to the neutral corner. He never got up. A couple of minutes go by, and Barney Eastwood said to me, this kid's hurt. He never came out of the coma.
Blood clot.
Blood clot. It's called a subdural hematoma.
When Barry was approaching a fight, he approached it very seriously, especially after young Ali, the difficulty he had with young Ali. And he never wanted to hurt anybody. And we used to say a little prayer together that he learned as a child and I learned as a child for protection. O angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love commits us here, ever this day be at my side, to light and guard, to rule and guide. Amen. That was usually the last prayer he said before going out.
Do you think it'll ever be free from your mind?
No, I don't ever think it'll leave my mind.
I still think about him, not as much as I used to, sadly.
It was very upsetting and a very, very difficult time. Probably the most difficult time I've ever experienced.
And I had made a decision to box, and here I'd taken some young fella's life. I was very upset about it, didn't want to continue my career, but I had nothing. I had no money. Where was I going to go? What was I going to do? So I went on, and here's the thing I said to myself: if I win the world title, I'll dedicate it to him.
Maggie Thatcher had just signed the Anglo-Irish Agreement. The bombs were still going off. We were in the nadir of the Troubles at that stage.
What sort of risk were you taking?
Yeah, I was taking a considerable risk. Nobody from the South had ever boxed for the British title. I had to take out citizenship to fight for the British title.
We knew this guy had the potential to be a world champion, but he couldn't be one if he didn't fight within the British boxing board of control and then the European boxing. That's the way it was. However, there were very many people in his local area who hadn't that vision. You know, people who were locked into bigotry and into the past, and they were dangerous people.
There would have been the whispers in Clones, there would have been quite a lot of hardliners there. They would have
saying Barry the Brit.
Oh, Barry the Brit. Barry the Brit was, they painted it on the wall.
Well, sadly, Barney, I have to ask you about this threat which appeared in a Sunday newspaper. How do you, and indeed Barry, treat the rumours of a death threat?
For the life of me, I don't understand why anyone would want to hurt Barry McGuigan. He brings so much joy and happiness to us all.
I didn't give a what people said. I didn't care what the hardline Republicans said. I didn't care what the loyalists said. They didn't matter a damn to me.
Obviously, we'll just watch ourselves, and we have to keep watching Barry.
It only takes one man with one gun, with one bullet, and Barry took a big chance then. I always feared for him in that respect.
I had plainclothes policemen travelling with me in the north and in the south for about a year. They issued me with a gun. I was taught how to shoot. I was taught how to use a handgun.
There is no doubt in the world that there were some people who would have taken his life. Let's put it this way, there were many lives taken for less obvious betrayals, as they saw it, of the Republican movement.
Sometimes I think, how did I get through this without being killed?
When did you first pick up a pair of gloves?
When I was about 11 years old. They were a bit worn, proper horsehair gloves, no thumb guard, no nothing, old gloves. And I remember being fascinated with them, and then myself and my brother started sparring. We had Ring magazine, we read autobiographies, Sugar Ray Robinson and, Jake LaMotta and all of the great fighters, and Jack Johnson. And it was, we were just consumed by boxing 24 hours a day.
It was a really special relationship. It was a really, really special relationship. So, I don't think it would have happened without Dermot.
And he looked very defended against him after that, didn't he? After that, was it?
He was a great coach.
First one.
Could have been a very good boxer himself, but he had the talent but didn't have the commitment. And I didn't have the talent, but I had the commitment.
We're delighted that we finalised the contract for Barry to fight Pedrosa for the World Championship.
How good was Eusebio Pedrosa?
He was a remarkable fighter. Absolutely remarkable fighter.
The guy that he's fighting is a legend in his own lifetime.
He's defended his world title 19 times in 7 years.
I remember some of the people saying that he was an old man.
Past his best.
Past his best. 31, come on.
For Saturday's fight, Irish travel agents are taking around 10,000 McGuigan fans to London.
Wouldn't come to Belfast. The nearest they would box would be London. But we brought half of Ireland with us.
An Irish army of over 13,000 have invaded London for the outdoor bout at Queen's Park Rangers soccer ground.
The Shankill, the Falls, Catholics, Protestants, Republicans, Loyalists, Unionists, Nationalists.
I didn't want to disappoint people. When this snowball was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I felt an enormous pressure.
I want him on the scales again.
For me, there had to be a happy ending. For me, I had to win. My father was a professional singer. Do we play the Soldier's Song, or do we play the Queen? And I didn't want any of that. So my dad sang Danny Boy. I never listened to it. I would say a little prayer to myself over and over again, thinking about the tactics, thinking about what I've got to do, and then, centre of the ring, gown off, get on with it, bing. The plan was very simple. As soon as the bell went, I ran to the centre of the ring, and not behind that, in front of that. The first punch I threw, I tried to take his head off, so that he would be on the back foot fighting defensively, so I'm actually coming forward and I'm walking him down. It's all about me putting him under pressure, because I knew that's the way to beat him. I knew I couldn't beat him trying to box him, and I knew I'd have to give away a number of rounds before I'd start to close him down. I'm jabbing with you, jabbing with you, jabbing with you, relentlessly pursuing you, body punches, left hooks to the body, right hand to the head. So after 5-6 rounds, he's starting to make mistakes. And I'm still coming on hard. I'm putting him under pressure, keeping the intensity. Always under pressure. In the 7th round, I broke through. Walking him onto a shot, right uppercut, left hook, and then finally, boom!
And a big one, hell!
And then all hell broke loose.
The champion is on the floor!
I was always confident that he would win that fight. And listen, he fought some great amateurs. So the experience was put into him, and he was schooled right. It's a big plus.
Jab, missing the target but hitting something.
As McGuigan just forces the pace.
Hurt him in the 9th. I thought the referee was going to stop it in the 13th, but then I knew I wasn't going to get rid of him. He fought like tooth and nail right to the end of the fight.
These fans in QPR have no doubt he's won it. They have no doubt at all.
The crowd seemed to think I definitely won it, but I wasn't convinced.
It's all over! It's all over! And surely Barry McGuigan must be the champion of the world.
When they then did announce that I'd won it, and it was amazing.
Barry McGuigan is the new WBA world champion.
I don't think you could ever surpass the world title fight. It was incredible. It was an incredible night, so it was.
Barry McGuigan, champion of the world. A dream come true.
Nothing will ever replace the volcano that was that football ground that night when he fought Pedrosa.
I remember dancing with Pat Jennings, and the head of the RUC was there. I don't even remember getting home that night, and I don't drink.
It could never possibly surpass that. 15 rounds flat out, thrilling fight from start to finish. All the people that had come over to see it, all the British public that had sort of taken to me. It can never mean as much. It can never mean as much again.
My new snacks are world class.
My life just exploded.
Since he won the world title, he was a changed little boy.
In many ways, that was one of my bravest performances.
It was the moment that Barry McGuigan had waited for. To step back onto Ulster soil as the world featherweight champion. Life in Belfast city centre stopped for the celebrations.
75,000 people were there, up Royal Avenue in Belfast. People hanging out of buildings, and it was like after D-Day, you know, it was like just incredible.
Everyone wanted to shake the hand of the boxer who's brought pride and joy to a province which needs both more than most.
People were on the drink for days. It was crazy. I don't know, it was absolutely bonkers. And then in Dublin 3 days later, 200,000 people turned out to see me. 200,000 people. It took us an hour and a half to get 500 metres. So that was probably the greatest day of my life. Knowing what it meant to the Irish people.
We came home saying, we can be great. We can rule the world. We're not dependent anymore. If we actually have a bit of fight in us, we can do what Barry has done.
Right.
You ready?
It was a good delivery.
My life just exploded. Everybody wanted to have part of me.
Feels like Frank Bruno's gum shield.
It was bonkers. It was great, but yet silly, incredibly frenetic, you know.
Sure did I.
My new snacks are world class.
Sportsmen weren't untouchable. You could meet them, you could see them, you could talk to them, you could feel them and touch them and have a conversation with them. And they certainly had with me.
All the ladies, come on, get right.
McGuigan in venomous form at the moment. Punching so hard, he's punching so often. The greatest fighting machine ever to come out of Ireland.
You're a born star, in and out of the ring. You know, Barry, a guy doesn't have to wear a championship belt or wear boxing gloves to be a champion. You're a champion as a man. You're a champion as a human being.
It didn't change me at all. It just changed my life. Jesus, it was crazy.
He's done everything over here and he's gone as far as he possibly can. So now he must go and to Las Vegas and defend his title, which is a very, very big step because it's a different ball game entirely over there.
Steve Cruz, would it be fair to say you were expected to beat him?
Definitely.
I didn't think he was in good form that morning before the fight. He wasn't happy with himself. I wasn't sure of the day at all. It was just the occasion had got so big. I got a foreboding about it. It was a car park. It was in the middle of the day. It's a desert.
And the temperature is officially declared at 110 degrees.
I had a plastic pen. I lifted the plastic pen to write at the beginning of the third round, and the plastic pen dissolved into a ball. It was that hot.
In many ways, that was one of my bravest performances. That was one of my, you know, my best performances under the circumstances.
It's the greatest fight Barry ever fought. And had it been now a 12-round fight, Barry still would have won. At 12 rounds, he was well ahead. The last 3 rounds, he just disintegrated because of the heat.
With 1 round to go, all I had to do was stand on my feet. All I had to do was to keep out of trouble. But I was empty. I had no energy. And this is the great thing about boxing. I knew it, but he knew it too.
So how do you rate Barry now?
I still rate him in the top. He's one of the best.
I've seen shots before of me sort of in tears coming out on the stretcher, but I'm not embarrassed by that. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I fought as best I could. I fought to the last drop of energy that I had.
I hope he never puts a glove in his hand again. I wished he'd done it since he fought with Rosa.
Very sorry for his wife and his kids. They're all broken-hearted because this is the first time we've ever seen Barry hurt, and that's what worries us all.
I went down to him in the ambulance. The one thing he kept saying to me, I hope I'm not like Ali. I hope I'm not like Ali. Stay with me. Don't let me go. That's all he said that day. He recovered from it, but it took him a long time physically and emotionally to recover from that.
He said, I fought like an old woman, and I said, no, I don't agree. I thought you fought a very good fight.
Barry McGuigan wants to obtain a release from a contract he feels hasn't been fair to him financially.
I repeatedly say that they both needed each other, and that as a team they were the strongest sporting team that ever came out of Ireland. It broke down because it was so intense as a relationship.
McGuigan hasn't fought since losing his world featherweight title last June.
Well, we split over differences around Las Vegas without getting into the detail.
The young man has changed, really. Since he won the world title, he was a changed little boy, and he has so many advisors around him. He has more advisors around him at the moment than the Queen has soldiers.
I didn't have advisors. I might have had people around me, but my family were around me all the time. But nobody influenced my decisions.
Both sides agreed to throw in the towel in the row over whether or not McGuigan had a contractual obligation to fight twice more for Eastwood. But afterwards, McGuigan's solicitor said that he had bought Eastwood's options to promote McGuigan's next two fights.
I'm pleased. It's ended well for me.
Mr. Eastwood didn't appear to be too sorry to see the end of the relationship. Obviously, Barry, then, you think...
The feeling is mutual.
The one and only Barry McGuigan!
I'll expect a bit of ring rust, but I'm going to win.
I didn't want to ask myself when I was 45 years old, should I have left it at that? Should I not have gone back?
McGuigan is back, but he's got to do it in the ring now.
I moved over to the UK. I teamed up with Frank Warren and I said, I'm gonna box again. To win a world title again, super featherweight, was the goal. But I had to prove to myself that I was good enough to do that.
Oh, doubled that up.
Oh, he's got to be hitting with a straight punch there.
And yes, it's all over there. It was an inevitable finish.
It showed tonight that I was on the ball, and I'm very, very pleased.
Oh, I'm so glad it's over.
Barry, I don't really want to interrupt that. That's obviously.
I'm trying to get rid of the ring rust, fight sort of world-class guys, just below world-class, to know that I'm there or thereabouts. And I struggled against Julio Miranda. That was the first time I questioned myself.
The gun shoot goes flying out. It's going to be stopped, I think. It looks like the Argentinian's throwing a towel in.
And then we got an offer from Barry Hearn to fight Jim McDonnell in the final eliminator for the world title, and he offered me a lot of money, and I thought, sounds good.
What's the one biggest regret of your life?
You don't want to hear that, because I don't want to get upset.
Well, I tell you, Jim, it's a hard trek to get in this ring.
Yeah, almost as hard a fight to get into the ring as he's going to have it once he gets there.
If I'd have won that fight and looked as good as I believed I was going to look, I would have moved on then and fought for the world title.
Barry would have beaten, with no disrespect to Jim McDonald, he would have beaten Jim McDonald with one hand tied behind his back, you know, before this.
Well, there's no love lost here, Jim.
I saw the punch coming that opened his eye, and when Barry didn't see it, I knew something had happened.
I think McGuigan's cut already, Reg.
It felt like a sharp crack. I remember coming back to the corner and poor Ernie Fossey, God rest him, was in the corner, and I came back and went, oh!
That looks a terrible cut. It looks a long one, a deep one and a bleeder. I think he had serious problems.
I knew I was going to have a short time to turn the fight around, so I ran out and tried to engage McDonald in the fight, and he was clever, smart boxer, moved around, used his jab, and Mickey Van said, that's enough.
It's all over in the fourth round. It's always on the cards there that was going to happen.
Unbelievable. There we are.
What a sad end for McGuigan, and well, could that be the end, Jim?
Yeah, they're just on a commercial. They'll be back with us in a minute and a quarter. Do you want something to drink there, Barry?
I went up the stairs into the back into the changing room, and Eamon McAvoy, my solicitor, who was my best mate, I said to him, it's time to stop now.
I've said in the past, had I lost, at any stage I would retire. I don't intend to reverse that.
The magic's gone.
I just like to announce that I'm never going to fight again. You got to come to the end at some stage, and this is the end for Barry McGuigan.
That was his last fight. One of the best decisions he ever made in very difficult circumstances, and one of the bravest.
How old were you?
28. You're only as young as the amount of punches you take. If you don't want it, get out.
It was standing room only in the High Court this morning as the legal fight between Barry McGuigan and Barney Eastwood entered its final round.
Here were two buddies who had got to that holy grail, and then there was an unholy row, and it was commercial and legal.
McGuigan accused Eastwood of letting him go ahead with the title defence, knowing that he was unfit. He claimed his manager knew that he had an ankle injury and an ear infection, but the jury disagreed.
He didn't like what I said, and he made me answer her.
Can't believe it. We can't believe the result. We just can't believe it.
Will you have to sell your house? Is this a possibility?
Don't ask me questions like that.
The jury decided to award Mr. Eastwood £450,000 damages.
Justice has prevailed. 7 Belfast people could see the whole case right through, and they weren't to be fooled. They knew the truth from the lies.
After a case like that, it would be forgivable to say, I wish I'd never met the man. Do you think that?
No. I was bitter at the time, very bitter. But I liked the guy. I don't want to tell a lie. I liked him. He was good fun. I enjoyed him. He was a nice man. He was good to me, and I was certainly good to him.
How long is it since you spoke to Barney then? Properly, man to man?
Probably the day after the Vegas fight. That was 1986. He's an old man now. I'm an old man myself. So it is kind of sad. It's sad the way it all ended.
These are two men who united Ireland, and yet they cannot be reunited.
Well, I think there has been a lot of hurt. And there's been plenty of time and plenty of things that could have been done to have stopped it. But it didn't happen.
That's sort of part of my career that I wish I could change, and that we could still shake each other's hand and say, how are you doing?
The one thing that grieves me, and the one thing that I would love to see, is a reconciliation. I'd like to see, you know, before the end of BJ's life, I would like to see a handshake, an Ulster handshake between the both of them.
I hope it will happen. I see good reason why it should happen. And I respect both of them enough to know that it will happen.
Because?
Because it's the right thing to do.
I'd have no problem shaking his hand. You know, whether I could ever be his friend again is another thing. But I would have no problem shaking his hand.
And we're not just manager and fighter, we're very good friends.
He's a very well-mannered lad outside the ring and people like him, so I'm hoping that he'll go on to greater things.
So ends Ulster's longest and costliest libel trial, which ran for 5 weeks.
What's the one biggest regret of your life?
You don't want to hear that because I don't want to get upset. Not having my brother.
Dermot McGuigan was last seen alive here late on Wednesday afternoon at the family's former supermarket. About 8 hours later, his body was found in the building next door where he kept a flat.
I'd like him to be with me now. I'd like him to have seen my kids. I'd like him to have been here, that's all.
What effect did the end of your career have on your brother, Dermot?
Don't go there. Seriously. In many ways, I walked away and started anew, if you like. For Dermot, it had a huge effect on him. He had a long-term relationship with this girl, and it fell apart, and he sort of couldn't get over it. He took antidepressants and he drank too much, was trying to drown his sadness, and then he took his own life, so it was a very sad time. Yeah. I'll never get over that. That's the thing about suicide. You can ask a million questions and there's no point. Hey boys, how's it going, fella? If there's any place in the whole world that I would have liked to have fought more, would have been here. When this place is packed and those seats are all filled, it is just like a wall of sound. A wall of sound. And they hang over the balconies and you feel like they're in the ring with you. It's like they're there.
Every day, Barry McGuigan tries to make himself a better human being, a more educated man. People might say to you, should you go into politics? I don't think politics deserves a person like Barry McGuigan. Barry McGuigan works outside politics, and he's not imprisoned by politics. That's the story of his life.
Will you ever come back to Ireland to live?
I don't know. That's the honest truth. The longer I stay in England, the less likely it is. But this is home. I come here and I just immediately feel I'm home.
Barry McGuigan's legacy is places like this, the Holy Family Club where he started as a youngster. His legacy was to come to Belfast, to become its adopted son, for that to be embraced by the whole of the island, by all people of all creeds and cultures.
Winning the Commonwealth, turning pro, winning the British title, winning the world title. Everybody loves to meet him, all the kids love to meet him. They all want to be McGuigans, and that's the bottom line.
You can start with nothing and reach the top of the world. He started in a mingy wee hole of a boxing place in Clones, and he ended up the champion of the world. Ireland at the moment is on its knees. It needs to be reminded of people like Barry McGuigan.
Where Barry went, everybody loved him. Barry brought the country back on the map again.
Thank you.
Plus he got fed as well.
It can bring a tear to your eye sometimes when people say to you, oh my God, I was 7 years old, I was 10 years old, and I watched it. That's brilliant.
Let me tell you something. For any sportsman, for any fighter, it's impossible to comprehend, it's almost impossible to describe. But when you walk to that ring and you get into the ropes, it's so overwhelming, it's so overwhelming. So you get in that ring, you touch gloves and you say, okay mate, and you go back to the corner and you turn around your face. It's that moment. Nothing ever replaces that. Nothing ever replaces that. For the rest of my life, I'll try to find something that will replace that. Hey, but I've got those memories.